When my daughter's husband tried to RB me, he uncovered a shocking family secret. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started with a knock on the door. A faint echo of my heart thumping in my chest as I turned the knob. There he was, Tom, my son-in-law. His eyes were wild, darting around like a cornered animal. A twinge of fear shot through me. What was he doing here so late at night? The shadows danced around him, cloaking his figure in a sinister haze. I need your help, Lisa, he breathed, his voice trembling. The air thickened with anxiety. But then in an unexpected instant, his demeanor shifted. I saw a flash of desperation that turned to something darker. Give me your wallet. Now. My chest tightened. I laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. But no. His hands shook, palms glistening. I'm serious. I stepped back, confusion swirling like a storm in my gut. Memories crashed through my mind. Tom had always been the charming one. A smile that could light up the room. But now he was a stranger. My heart raced. I could smell the sweat beading on his forehead. The pungent odor of fear mingled with something else, a hint of betrayal. Why? I whispered. Desperation clawed at me as I glanced at the photographs hanging on the wall. Us as a family, blissfully unaware of the chaos waiting just beneath the surface. Just give me the money, please, he shouted, his voice a jarring slice through the silence. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my wallet, the leather cool against my clammy fingers. Each second stretched like an eternity. The tick of the clock echoed, a haunting reminder of how quickly moments could turn. But before I could hand it over, the air shifted. A sliver of revelation broke through the fog. What are you hiding? I asked. The question hung between us, charged with unspoken truths. Tom's posture stiffened, and for a brief moment, his bravado cracked. You wouldn't understand, he muttered, eyes darting away. Suddenly he surged forward. I recoiled, the wallet slipping from my grasp. It fell to the floor, the sound a little gasp swallowed in the dark. In that instant I knew I was standing on the edge of something deeper. Maybe he wasn't just after cash. Something else tugged at the corners of his mind, twisting the fabric of our family. Why don't you tell me? I demanded, my voice shaking. What do you mean? But before he could speak, something unexpected happened. His fingers grazed the edge of an old box behind me that had been tucked away for ages. My mother's things. Something shifted in his eyes. Curiosity mingled with something darker. The silence grew thick. You shouldn't have touched that, I warned, my heart pounding in sync with the growing tension. It's not what you think. Yet Tom was already opening it, digging through the tangled secrets of my past. What is this? He breathed, as old letters and faded photographs spilled out like skeletons from a closet. Each paper bore stories I had hidden for years, regrets, heartbreak, truths I buried deep. The look in his eyes changed. First confusion, then horror, and finally understanding. What have you been hiding? He whispered, and I knew then that nothing would ever be the same again. I reached out, but he pulled away, the weight of the family history pressing between us like a wall. The room felt colder. The shadows loomed larger. Would he tell? Would my family's buried secrets break us apart? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The walls of my living room seemed to close in as Tom's wide eyes bore into me, filled with a mix of horror and comprehension that left me breathless. I could hardly breathe, the air thick with unspoken truths. I was struck by a wave of regret. This was the moment I had more than dreaded. My family's history felt like a noose tightening around my neck, ready to choke the last remnants of my peace. Tom, I started, hesitant but desperate to reclaim the situation. You can't what? He interrupted, his voice an angry whisper flickering with betrayal. Can't know the truth? Or can't face it? He thrust a letter towards me, the edges fragile and yellowed with age. I recognized my mother's handwriting, loopy and extravagant, a stark contrast to his tense demeanor. I felt the sting of tears threatening to spill as I glanced at the words I had long fought to forget. Words that spoke of a different time off love, hope, and a scandal that would taint our family name. Is this why you've always kept me at arm's length? Tom demanded, frustration boiling beneath the surface. The accusatory tone in his voice cut deeper than I cared to admit. You thought I wouldn't understand? Or is it really that you were scared of me knowing you were just like them? My heart fell. The truth was a knife slicing through the very fabric of our relationship. I wanted to explain the chaos of my past, to offer him context that might soften the blow, but the words tangled in my throat, each attempt buried beneath a rush of emotions I couldn't articulate. I don't know what you think you saw, I stammered, retreating further into the shadows of my regrets. But this isn't just about one letter. It's about everything we've built, everything I've fought for, everything you've hidden. He shouted. His voice echoed in the hollow corners of the room. And now it's all unraveling because of a crumpled piece of paper. With his last words, I felt a shift in our battle. Underlying concern flickered in his eyes. Beneath the anger, I caught a glimmer of the charming man I once knew, the husband who had laughed at my daughter's inexplicable quirks, who shared dreams of a future with her. I swallowed against the rush of nostalgia. I tried to protect our family. I pleaded, a thick knot forming in my stomach. Your wife, my daughter, she deserves better than a history stained with heartache. I thought by hiding it I was making things easier for everyone. But then, amidst the turbulence, Tom froze, his attention caught by something else. A framed picture slipped from beneath the scattered documents. A family photo taken long before we understood what darkness could creep into the edges of our lives. I didn't want him to see it or recognize the smiles that had become masks. His expression shifted from rage to something softer, something akin to sorrow, and I took the pause as my chance to reach for a flicker of connection. Tom, please understand there's more than what you see. More than just this. The momentary silence was shattered by the piercing chime of my cell phone, slicing through the tension like a knife. I glanced down and went cold. It was my daughter, Julia, calling. I looked up at Tom, fear rippling through me. What should I tell her? The question hung between us, desperate and vulnerable. Would he lash out again as a way to shield me from my own guilt? Would he risk everything just to keep our family's secrets hidden in the dark? Put the phone down, he urged, his voice thick with a mixture of regret and authority. Childish rage flickered in the air between us, challenging our loyalty to our loved ones. Tom, please just do it, he insisted, or she's going to find out everything anyway. All of it because of me. Because of us, I interrupted, my voice quieter but resolute. You owe it to her to tell the truth, but we have to do this together. We can't let our past destroy her future. He hesitated, caught between the weight of revelation and the flicker of love for his wife. Lost in that fragile moment, something profound flickered back to life in his eyes, a hint of hope, wrapped in an array of unspoken possibilities. Julia's voice on the other end of the line broke through the silence again, this time more insistent. Mom, are you there? I'm worried. I end that heartbeat of indecision. I glanced at Tom and saw a flash of understanding wash over him. This was our chance. Life had thrust us into this moment, a trial by fire, but perhaps we could rise from its ashes. Or perhaps, as I felt the tension crackle between us, it was already too late. What if this confrontation was the beginning of the end, or worse, the end of what we all thought was an impenetrable love? Tell her everything, he whispered, the gravity of the secret pressing down on both of us. A single tear slipped down my cheek, soaking into the past I wished would stay hidden. Okay, I managed to say into the receiver, each word heavy with the weight of my confession. Okay. And as I heard the panic creeping into my daughter's voice, the looming shadows of our family secrets felt ready to swallow us whole. The moments that followed felt surreal, like time had slowed down around the gravity of my decision. I felt Tom's proximity, the heat radiating from him mingling with the chill of the storm brewing outside. My heart raced as I brought the phone closer to my ear, yet every word seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds. Mom? Are you there? Julia asked again, her voice trembling but straining to hold onto its melodious youth. In the depth of my daughter's worry, I sensed the innocence we were about to shatter. Yes, sweetheart, I finally said, each syllable trembling with the crack of my heart. I'm here. I need to talk to you about something important. I said, about Dad? Something's wrong, I can hear it. Her words dug into me like daggers. each slice revealing a wound I thought I could cover. The tightness in my voice made it hard to breathe, as I sought comfort in memories of snuggling with her on rainy days, her laughter racing through our home like music. It's not just about your dad. It's about our family, about our past, I managed, my eyes darting to Tom, whose expression shifted from anger to vulnerability, the man beneath the storm finally breaking free. Mom, you're scaring me. Just tell me. With the phone pressed tightly against my ear, I felt the weight of centuries bearing down on my shoulders. I had known this reckoning, this moment of truth would come, yet every day I poured myself into crafting a blissful normal facade, only to realize I'd built it on crumbling foundations. Julia, you remember when I told you that everyone has stories, right? Stories that shape who we are. Yeah, but I don't want to hear some lesson, Mom. Just tell me what's wrong. She insisted, urgency filling her voice. I glanced at Tom. He nodded as if urging me to push forward, to give her the truth she deserved, no matter how painful it felt to unearth. And in that reassuring gesture, I found a shard of strength to draw upon, a reminder of the love frayed yet still there. Your dad, he's not the man you think he is, I began hesitantly, my heart pounding like a drum in the silence that followed. There are things about him, things about Medhat have been hidden away. Hidden? Mom, what are you talking about? There was disbelief in her tone, utter confusion draping over her words like a heavy fog. It's because of a mistake I made years ago, I confessed, tears tracing paths down my cheeks. A letter that reveals a part of our family's history that's painful to confront. You deserve to know, Julia. We all do. Stop. Just stop. She cried, and I could hear the shaky exhale that followed. This is what I think it is, just don't say any more. I don't want to know. But you need to understand, honey, I pressed, desperation lacing my voice. We can't let our past destroy our future. I want us to be open with each other, be strong together. Mom, please. She begged, and I could almost see the anguish clouding her lovely features. You don't have to shield me. I can handle things, but I need you to tell me the truth, whatever it is. Just as I opened my mouth to speak, another crash of thunder roared outside, shaking the very walls of our house. Distracted, I glanced out the window, rain turning into a torrential downpour. The chaos outside echoed the storm raging within me. Would this confession rip our family apart? Mom! Julia's voice broke through my thoughts again, sharp and filled with urgency. What happened? Why are you hesitating? Because I love you too much, I finally uttered, feeling the last thread of resolve slip away. I don't want to lose you. I don't want you to see me like this. As the words escaped my lips, a warmth surged through the room. Tom reached for my hand. It was a simple gesture, but it imbued me with a flicker of hope in an otherwise dim expanse. His thumb brushed across my knuckles, grounding me as I faced the daunting truth. Maybe it's time we both face our fears, I whispered, taking a deep breath. Julia, I need you to promise me something. No matter what I tell you, remember that we're a family, and that family means you stand together through thick and thin. Just tell me. She pleaded. Again, but this time she sounded softer, almost fragile, as if a part of her already suspected a hidden ugliness beneath the surface of our happy lives. All right. I steeled myself, ready to unravel my heart. Your father Tom's family, they were entwined with dangers and heartbreak that we tried to escape. And that escape sometimes led to hidden secrets that lingered too long. This isn't making any sense, Mom. She protested, but the way she spoke was tinged with a dawning realization. Did she possess an inkling of the truth even before my confession? I never wanted to burden you, Julia, I continued, racing through the words like an unending tide. But there's a part of our history, the reason I held Tom at distance, and several things have been hidden from you. After everything you've come to love. Suddenly, the phone went quiet for a heartbeat, and panic gripped my throat. Julia, are you still there? Tom's grip tightened around my hand as if sensing the impending storm between us. The silence became monstrous, echoing all around. Mom, I know you're telling me something important. Bhuta's sudden knock at the door froze me, and for a breathless moment, I feared it was the weight of our misdeeds come to collect. The world outside was turbulent, yet we had a tempest growing within. I made my way cautiously toward the door, dread pooling in my stomach. As I reached for the handle, a deeper anxiety twisted and turned. I threw a glance back at Tom, and in his eyes, I saw a mirror of the fear I felt deep down. What did an unexpected visitor mean in the midst of unraveling our family bonds? Wait, I urged, stopping just before opening it. What if it's someone from your past? Should we let Julia go? He asked, his voice barely a whisper, but the weight of those words echoed more than any deafening thunderclap outside. I hesitated. In this moment were we truly ready to confront the demons that had haunted us? With a steadying breath, I twisted the handle, not knowing what awaited us on the other side. Would it be a stroke of unforeseen kindness, or a revelation that would turn our world upside down? All I could do was hope as the door creaked open, shrouded in shadows, but the figure standing there sent a chill racing down my spine. The figure draped in shadows was more than just a silhouette. It was a face I hadn't seen in years, a haunting reminder of the choices I had made. The echoes of our family's past that I had tried so hard to drown out. Clara. His voice was thick with emotion, each syllable wrapped in the weight of history. I didn't think I'd find you here. It took a moment for the name to resonate in my bones. Marcus, Tom's brother, the one I had hoped to forget, yet had visited countless times in my nightmares. Marcus. I breathed, the world around me tipping slightly as reality set in. My voice trembled as I stepped back instinctively, wrapping my arms around me, trying to shield my heart from the storm that was brewing. Tom's hand fell away from mine, a flicker of shock marring his usual composure. Mom? Julia's voice broke through the haze, shifting from fear to bewilderment. She stepped closer to me, searching my face for answers, and yet all I could do was search my thoughts for any semblance of stability. What are you doing here? I managed to ask, my urgency cracking through the barrier I had erected around my emotions. Marcus smiled softly, but it didn't reach his eyes. I know this wasn't how you wanted to see me again, but I had to come. My intentions aren't to stir up old memories or to bring strife, I swear. His gaze flicked between Tom and me. I need to talk to you both. It's about something urgent, something from our past that threatens to resurface. A heavy silence hung in the air, palpable and thick. My heart pounded as I felt betrayed by fate. Did the past never let us go? I turned to Tom, whose face was a canvas of apprehension, confusion merging into a silent fury. He remained rooted in place, the storm of emotion swirling within him. Julia, I said softly, my voice trembling, maybe you should go to your room for a moment. Mom, I don't want to miss anything. She insisted, her determination a fortitude I found unnerving. But even as she stood her ground, I saw the fear in her eyes, the same mingling of dread and fascination I felt. Clara. Marcus' voice slipped into the quiet again, piercing my resolve. This is about family. You need to know that you're not alone in this. There are secrets that could destroy us all if we don't confront them head-on us. This why you came? Tom's voice cut through the tension, charged and cutting as it was laced with anger. To dredge up the past when we're trying to fix things. Fix things? Marcus scoffed, his brow knitting together. You think you can fix what's broken with merely bandaging the scars? This runs deeper. The heat of his words ignited a spark in me. I stood straighter, willing to confront the ghost of a family I had tried so hard to shield my children from. What do you know that we don't, Marcus? He glanced behind him, as if he feared unseen eyes would overhear. Doesn't matter who knows anymore. It's the truth that needs to be laid bare. Tom and I were part of a world that both sickened and saved us. Our family's choices have created ripples, ones I fear your family has unknowingly caught in its tide. What are you talking about? Tom stepped closer, the protection nerve pulsing in his voice, but fear gripped him as it once had. I watched as Marcus shifted, the muscles in his jaw tightening. The family business, he finally said, the words sounding heavy on his tongue. It's more than just what you think it is. There are connections. I have been approached about it again. The old ties that we thought were severed, they're coming back. Clara. The implication wrapped my heart in a tight clasp. So you're saying this isn't just about us? That your past will come to swallow our present whole? Yes, he said, and for a moment vulnerability washed over him, revealing the pain behind his bravado. There's been talk. People are looking for us, Clara. Your husband was a part of something we all tried to escape, and they want to drag us back into it, back into the shadows. The words landed like stones in the pit of my stomach. I had promised to share the truth with Julia, and yet here was this deeper layer I had yet to uncover. The threat, dangling above us, casting a shadow on the fragile scheme of healing we had constructed. "Mom, what is happening?" Julia's voice trembled, drawing me back. "What are they talking about?" Tears brimmed in my eyes, the weight of the world pressing down hard as my lips parted to explain the weight we had hidden away for too long. But just as I opened my mouth, Marcus spoke again, urgency spilling from him. "No, it's not safe for her to hear all of this now. We need to devise a plan. If we're being watched, we can't just lay it all bare for them to see." "Not safe?" Tom scoffed, the raw emotion cracking through his facade. "How can you say that? You come here with dark tidings, and you expect us to keep our daughter in the dark?" Fire flashed in Marcus' eyes, his composure wavering between desperation and indignation, because that darkness might just save her life. As the weight of his words settled into the air, the enormity of our situation began to scream beneath the quiet chaos. "Mom," Julia pressed again, her worry twisting into something greater, a gnawing fear creeping into the edges of her voice. "Tell the truth," I whispered, the agony pulling at me, the need to shield her against the crashing waves of uncertainty. "Tell her what we've shared, even the darkest corners. She deserves that much." Just as I willed myself to offer that piece of myself, the door shuddered in a gust of wind, slamming behind Marcus and causing us all to jump. "Clara!" he shouted, eyes wide. "We may not have time." And with that plea hanging in the air, each heartbeat pulsed with the looming unknown of secrets that bound us, of the dangers that circled us like vultures, waiting for a moment of weakness to strike. The storm outside mirrored the storm within, but as I stood upon the threshold of this unfathomable truth, I couldn't shake the gnawing anxiety that built fear within me. "Mom!" Julia exclaimed, her plea piercing through my swirling thoughts. "You can't hold back now." In that moment, I faced the fracture of my reality and looked deep into the eyes of my daughter, grappling with the inevitable consequence of the truth. Would I shatter the fragile being who looked to me for answers, or would I brace for the weight of our family's legacy, one that seemed to demand our reckoning? As I opened my mouth to speak, the answer remained locked behind walls I had built to protect us, uncertain of what stone I would cast into our rioting lives next. And with every agonizing second, I realized that the greatest uproar was yet to reveal itself. The wind howled outside, wrapping around our house like a desperate plea, as if nature itself were urging me to choose between honesty and protection. It clawed at my defenses, swirling memories of my past like fallen leaves, each one a reminder of both the beauty and devastation we carried. "Mom, please." Julia's voice edged with a mix of urgency and fear, grounding me in the present. Her eyes, wide with emotion, reflected the strength of our bond and the terror of the impending storm. "You said we were a family that faced things together. What's so dangerous?" The world outside seemed to still for a moment, and in that silence my heart raced. Marcus's presence loomed large behind me, a ghost from the past that was becoming all too corporeal. I could feel Tom's tension radiating beside me, his silent plea for resolution mingling with my daughter's insistence. "Sometimes," I began, every word weighed down with dread, "the past doesn't stay buried. We thought we could build a new life away from it all, but it's not as simple as that. Is it about money? Is Dad mixed up in something legal?" Julia's questions tumbled from her lips, fraying my control like threads unraveling from a sweater. I wanted to deny it, to whisk her away from the ugly truths that may swallow us whole, but she wouldn't let me hide. "And no," Marcus interjected, his voice firm yet empathetic. "It's about loyalty, about connections that may be dangerous. Your father was part of something we all thought was behind us. But now all those ties are awakening again." "Stop." I raised a hand in protest, the words falling from my mouth as an instinctual shield. "You don't need to hear this, Julia." "But it's my life," she countered, her youthful determination weaving through the fabric of my resolve. The desperation in her voice struck something deep within me. "Your father was involved in a family business, one that was shadowy at best, illegal at worst. We left that behind," after my voice faltered, choking on emotions long buried. "After your Aunt Sarah." Julia's voice turned sharp, and I could see the connections forming in her mind, recollections of half-told stories that had haunted her childhood with softness, but had now turned to thorns ready to puncture her innocence. "Yes," I whispered. "She was caught in that world and it all came crashing down. I lost her to it." Marcus' breath caught at my reveal, and I saw a flicker of sorrow cross his features. Clara, you didn't need to know I did. I interjected, knowing the truth had to lay the foundation for rebuilding, even if it meant cracking the very essence of our family. Julia, these choices haunt us. They pull us back, and if there are people after us, if they have found a way to reach out again, then we may not be safe. Tears spilled down Julia's cheeks, and the fragile hold I had over my emotions began to shatter. But it's not your fault, she cried, the pain of betrayal etching deeper lines across her youthful face. Why can't we just choose not to live like that? Why can't this stop? It's not that simple. Tom's voice burst forth, filling the void of stunned silence, but it held a hint of despair undercurrent. Our lives were intertwined before we even knew it, before you were born. You think we can just sever those ties without consequence? A more profound fear settled over us all, hanging thick in the air. This chaos was rooted in the shadows of people we once thought we had escaped. A flicker in the corner of my mind raced back to our home, where simple dishes and laughter should be. How fragile our happiness felt when tethered to these revelations, and just as swiftly as the fear came, it was punctuated by a soft knocking on the door, a melody of hope amidst the storm. Unexpected kindness in our darkest hour. Mom, are you okay in there? It was my neighbor Sarah, her voice laced with the earthy warmth of home, unaware of the treachery swirling like storm clouds inside our walls. I wanted nothing more than to run to her, to pull her into our madness and let her warmth melt the icy grip the past held on me. But moving toward that door felt like abandoning the very essence of what we had to confront. Clara, we don't have much time. Marcus' urgency pierced through the moment. They could easily come for you, and we can hear you, you know. Sarah's voice broke in again, more insistent this time. The concern imbued in her tone sent a ripple of unease through my heart. Mom! Julia shouted again, her voice trembling, urging me back to the present. I can feel it, something's wrong. This seems bigger than us. What if we were wrong to believe we could just run away from our past? As I felt the weight of that question linger in the air, the sudden and absurd realization hit me: there was betrayal around us, but it was also the haunting truth that our lives were more woven together with secrets than I ever wanted to admit. I opened my mouth to acknowledge the unrest, to find the strength I needed to face this tidal wave of emotion head-on. Instead, Marcus stepped closer, his posture shifting with an intensity that felt both menacing and revealing. What if I told you there are individuals from that world who know about Julia? He whispered, the darkness nor slipping fiercely into our sanctuary of safety. What if they're watching us right now? Frozen, I willed disbelief to fill the void, the shaking reality still trying to settle over me. In that fraction of a second, the room spiraled into an ominous silence, pregnant with possibilities, forcing me to question everything. The invisible walls I had carefully constructed felt frail and inadequate against the surge of impending doom. My heart raced as I traded glimpses with each of them, one filled with dread, another with realization, and my daughter's reflecting a vulnerability so stark it ripped through me. The suspense entwined tightly, and as Marcus' next breath drew closer to revelation, I felt the floor beneath us give way, and the secrets from our past clamored to pull us back into their chaotic embrace. Mom! Julia screamed as pounding footsteps reverberated on the porch. And there at the edge of our world, the final click of fate echoed. The door whipped open hard, thrown wide by the wind, revealing figures cloaked in shadow, encroaching closer as the beating pulse of our lives surged in one inevitable, terrifying truth. We weren't alone. The figures that filled the doorway seemed to warp the very air we breathed, their outlines framed by the fading sunlight. I couldn't move. Instead, the gravity of the moment pinned me in place, as if my feet were cemented to the floor by an unseen hand. The world outside continued its tempestuous symphony, the wind wailing for attention as that first figure stepped forward, revealing a familiar face. Clara, he drawled, smirking with an arrogance that stirred conflicting feelings in me. It was David, a memory from the past I had fought so hard to bury. The tightly coiled spring of my heart unwound further as the realization hit. I had thought I was free from this connection, from the choices that once consumed me. How naive I had been, David, I managed to choke out, my voice barely a whisper against the howling wind. Just the mere sound of his name brought back the undeniable truth of my naivety, a hot rush of regret that stung like the chill of the approaching storm. What a pleasant surprise, he said, taking a step into our home, as if it was merely a chance encounter at a coffee shop instead of a breach into our sanctuary. My pulse quickened, the instinct to protect my family rising fiercely within me. "Get out," I snapped, finding a flicker of strength as Julia's hand found its way into mine. A lifeline tethering me back to the present. Now, no need for that," he replied, his tone dripping with disingenuous warmth. "I'm not here to cause any trouble. Just paying an old friend a visit." He turned his gaze to Julia, his eyes gleaming with an unsettling familiarity. "And to see how the family is doing, especially you, Julia. You've grown so much. Stay away from her." Tom's voice erupted as he stepped forward, his protective nature shining through the haze of fear. It was an instinctive reaction, filled with the fierce resolve of a guardian ready to defend his own. "Not the warmest welcome, I must say," David continued, unfazed but adjusting his demeanor to one of feigned concern. "I didn't come here uninvited. We have some unfinished business to discuss. It seems your father's old debts have followed you, especially now that I know what you're hiding." The atmosphere shifted, thickening with an unseen tension, as I felt Julia squeeze my hand tighter. Whatever semblance of normalcy we had tried to create cracked under the weight of his presence. "Get out, David," I ordered, my voice stronger despite the fear coiling around my heart. "You have no business here." "Oh, but that's where you're mistaken. You see, you're still very much tied to us, Clara. And I think the girl deserves to know the truth about her family's past," he said, leaning back slightly as though reveling in the chaos he was creating. "After all, she has a right to understand who she's really connected to behind me." Tom's expression shifted to one of grim understanding, as if he too had been handed an unsettling truth. Marcus stayed silent, grappling with his inner turmoil, while Julia's face twisted with confusion and burgeoning alarm. "Mom, what is he talking about?" she whispered, the tremor in her voice striking the very core of my heart. The innocence in her gaze was a stark reminder of what I was willing to protect, and yet that very protection felt precarious now. "Julia, I faltered, the words caught in my throat like heavy stones. I could see the threads of her trust beginning to fray at David's insinuation, and I ached to shield her from it, to construct walls high enough that this monstrous past could never reach her. "But it's the truth she deserves," David interrupted, his gaze now fixed on me, insistent and cold. "Just like how she deserves to know that her father isn't what you've painted him to be. He has darker ties than you imagined, and it's only a matter of time before she bears the brunt of those connections." "Enough," Tom shouted, stepping forward protectively as David took another deliberate step toward Julia. "If you care about her at all, you'll leave us out of this mess." David chuckled, and the sound was devoid of humor, an echo of malice that pierced through the fragile atmosphere. "You think you can shield her, but that's exactly what makes her a target. It's the ties that bind us that bring about the danger, not the protection you so desperately try to offer." Just then, a sharp crash reverberated from the back of the Hoshan explosion that sent shivers down my spine and startled us all into action. The sound pulled me from my shock, awakening every survival instinct I had failed to access when faced with David's presence. "Julia, go to your room," I ordered, feeling as panic coursed through me. "No," she protested, stepping forward defiantly, her brow furrowing with resolve. I want to understand that I opened my mouth to argue, but it was Marcus who cut through the tension. "We don't have the luxury of time. Clara, he's right in one respect. We need to regroup, and we can't do that with him here." "Regroup?" David echoed with a laugh that dripped with disdain. "You think you can weather this storm together? Your lives are entangled in a web that you can't escape." His gaze shifted to Julia with unnerving intensity. "And you know what happens when you poke at old wounds, everyone can see them bleed." The crash reverberated again, and I turned instinctively toward the back of the house, dread pooling in my stomach at realizing this crisis was escalating beyond our control. "Get out!" I screamed, my voice rising with each syllable. "You're not welcome here. You're nothing but a parasite feeding off our fears." Clara, David began, but I could see the truth of my words wash over him. A gnarled reflection of rage and frustration morphed his features, and for a split moment, I believed I saw a flicker of doubt in his eyes that I said "get out." I yelled, my heart pounding in my chest. I could feel Julia's small hand trembling in mine, the pulse of fear echoing between us, winding tighter with each word spoken from David's mouth. Then, as if the universe was answering my desperate plea, the door swung heavily on its hinges again. The silhouettes of the evening gloom coalesced into something sharper. Two burly figures stepped through, shrouded in the shadows of their own threat. "Clara," one of them growled, his voice as gravelly as the pavement outside, more menacing than any storm. "We've been looking for you." My heart fell into my stomach as a new wave of icy dread flooded my veins, the weight of the past crashing over me once again. And just as I thought the world around us couldn't constrict any further, the horrifying realization hit me like a lightning bolt. David too wasn't just an old friend. He was a link in a chain that threatened to tighten around us all. That in that moment, as fear locked the door to my hope, I realized we were ensnared in a battle that ran far deeper than I ever knew, one that threatened to unravel everything we had tried to build in a world desperate for peace. And as the shadows loomed closer, the last thread of safety frayed, leaving us vulnerable to the storm that would gust through our lives once again. The storm unfurled with a sudden ferocity, a cacophony of rain pounding against the roof like 1,000 shattered dreams. In the midst of the chaos, the two imposing figures stepped deeper into our home, their darkened figures absorbing the dim light, swallowing any remaining comfort we clung to. "Clara," one of them said, and the familiarity in that tired voice sent an electric jolt through me. Jonah, a name I had etched in the back of my mind as a desperate measure of protection. He had been a part of the past I thought I was leaving behind. The thunder rumbled ominously outside, escalating my confusion. My heart picked up its pace. "What do you want?" My question came out sharper than intended, but terror was a robust motivator that obliterated hesitation. "I'm here because it's time to settle debts," he replied, casting a sideways glance at David. "And we both know how dangerous it is to flutter your wings too close to the flames." His eyes narrowed in on me, the intensity of his gaze pressing against my chest like a lead weight. "Settle debts?" Tom echoed, his voice strained as his protective stance widened. "What debts?" "The kind you buried to protect your family," Jonah said, unfazed. "The kind that put you all in peril, drawn out by missteps of the past." He stepped closer, his posture rigid and uncompromising. "Let me remind you, Clara, you can't escape your family's history, no matter how far you run," he continued, emphasizing words like a cold blade sharpening against my very soul. "Stop right there," I shouted, desperation leaking through my words. "You know nothing about the life I've built or the protection I've fought for." "Oh, but I do," he snarled, the walls of our home vibrating with the intensity of his voice. "And soon it will come crashing down like every false ceiling you've erected." I could feel the air vibrate around us as panic set in, swirling like the storm that raged outside, whipping through our lives with savage fury. As my mind raced for solutions, my eyes darted to Julia, perched nervously behind Tom, fear reflected in her wide eyes, and my heart cracked under the weight of my own helplessness. "Stay behind me, love," Tom whispered, his tone dropping as though needing to shield her from the darkness that permeated the room. But Julia shrank back, confusion knitting her brow. "Mom, what is going on?" she asked, her voice quaking. In a moment I replied, my heart aching at the sight of her innocence being threatened, swallowed by shadows she shouldn't have to face. "David here is just the tip of the iceberg," Jonah said, glaring at David, whose features twisted into a snarl. "You both underestimated how deep this rabbit hole goes. The past hangs over you like a guillotine, and trust me when I say it's hungry." Suddenly, there was movement behind the new intruder, an oscillating presence lurking just beyond the periphery of illumination. My heart sank as a familiar face stepped forward. "Evelyn?" My voice broke as I seen her, bounding through the doorway as if she belonged to the storm, cloaked in an aura of haunting nostalgia. Her eyes were clouded, a mixture of anguish and determination. "What are you doing here?" "I had no choice," she began, stumbling over the words, her energy flickering like a candle in a gale. "I came to warn you, Clara. It's worse than I thought. The debts. They're not just financial." "What?" I whispered, grappling with the weight of her revelation. The truth hung heavily in the air, coiling tightly around us like a noose. "Their implications reach into areas you can't imagine," she said, pacing toward me, desperation tinging the air we breathed. "Your choices have created ripples, and now they're crashing back against you." A chill ran through me as I glanced back at David. "What do you mean?" I pressed, panic surging like a tide, threatening to drown my every thought. "Your father was more involved than you realize," Evelyn continued, her voice trembling. "He protected your family by burying truths that grow into monsters. These men," she gestured towards Jonah and David, "they're not just collectors. They're enforcers of darker debts. Blood debts that won't rest until they're settled. And you, Clara, you are next in line to pay the price that I gasped, my heart plummeting into a chasm of despair. No. I won't allow it. Will you protect your daughter at any cost? Jonah's voice was a razor-studded whisper. Because the moment you take a stand, every ruin of your past might scream to life. And the fallout? You won't be the only one caught in its grasp. No, I said fiercely, determination solidifying within me. I will do anything to keep Julia safe. We've already lost too much. Then you should be prepared for the storm to come, because it won't only claim what you fear for yourself but will also reach for what you hold dear, David taunted. An unsettling gleam sparkling in his eyes, dread clawed at my throat, but I steeled myself. There had to be a way to uncover the truth without sacrificing everything. Julia, I whispered, glancing back at her again. Stay close to me as I prepared to confront the growing turmoil. An unearthly holler pierced the night outside, a sound that sent shivers down my spine, echoing the disconcerting truths that bled into our existence. In that instant, as thunder crashed, the boundless horizons of uncertainty hurled my heart into the abyss. And then, in the electric silence that followed, as I faced the disdainful faces that encircled us, the storm surged forth, unearthing an untold chapter of my life that I never anticipated could share our wretched stage. In that moment, I felt the strangling grip of fear transform into something else, a burning spark igniting within me. No matter how deeply my family's history infiltrated our lives, I would fight tooth and nail to protect my daughter and uncover the insidious truth waiting in the shadows. But one question loomed, sharpening my resolve. Just how far would I have to go to unearth the buried past? And what sacrifices might I face when I finally did? The wind howled like a restless spirit, wrapping its icy fingers around the edges of our home. I took a step back, instinctively blocking Julia from the encroaching figures that seemed to seep into our lives like a parasite. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil within, each crack of thunder a harsh reminder of my family's murky past, threatening to drown the fragile peace I had worked so hard to build. Clara, Jonah's voice sliced through the air, chilling and composed. The truth you're hiding is about to come to light. The longer you deny it, the more innocent blood will be shed. I pressed my lips together, unwilling to give him the satisfaction of seeing my fear. Behind me, Julia clutched my hand, her small fingers trembling. Mom, she murmured, the uncertainty in her voice anchoring me to the present moment. I turned to her and offered a small smile, the act feeling like a promise I was desperate to keep. Stay close, sweetheart. We'll get through this, I reassured her. The warmth in my voice was a thin veneer over the ice pooling in my stomach. Evelyn, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. What do you know about these debts? What happened to my father? She hesitated, visibly shaken, as if the winds of our shared history were blowing through her too. Your father didn't just hide the truth to protect you. He thought he was protecting everyone. But those shadows are not forgiving. They thrive on secrets, and when they're forced into the light they can devastate everything. Jonah stepped forward, his face a mask of smug satisfaction twisted by a semblance of compassion. The truth always finds a way, Clara. Just like it found me. David placed a hand on Jonah's shoulder, his smug expression faltering for a moment. I noticed the way Jonah's grip tightened, just like the oppressive weight of their threats, forming an unyielding vice around my courage. We can choose how to handle this, I pressed, searching for any flicker of humanity left within them. Whatever debts my father incurred I will pay, but my daughter should not be a part of any of this. Leave her out. Julia's eyes were wide, reflecting a blend of fear and curiosity. I hated that I was dragging her into this dark maelstrom of my past. You think you can offer a truce? David scoffed. This is not a game of negotiation where you can simply walk away because you have a child to protect. No, it's not just a game. I shot back, my heart racing alongside my fury. She deserves better. You don't get to unleash horrors from the underbelly of our family's history upon her life. A chilling laugh reverberated through Jonah. Then you should know, Clara, that it doesn't matter how you feel or what you want. The debts exist, and they have no concern for your daughter's innocence. Our time is running short. Just then lightning struck, illuminating the room in a harsh, blinding flash. In that instant everything felt magnified, my fears, my resolve, the significance of my next words. What do you want from me? I breathed, fatigue settling into my bones as I weighed the enormity of my situation. First, a confession, Jonah said, his voice like gravel. You must acknowledge your family's role in this web of deception. Only then can we discuss payments. Before I could respond, Evelyn interjected, stepping closer to me, her tone laced with urgency. Clara, you need to hear Mayor Father kept a journal. It holds more than just secrets. It might just hold the key to managing the debts. But it's buried deep in the last place you'd ever want to think to search. You may have to disentangle the past to truly protect your present. What do you mean? I implored, feeling a surge of fury and betrayal, as if the ground beneath me were shifting. His final days were spent trying to seal demons that had already clawed their way to the surface. Clara. The journal is hidden where he tread most carefully, an old farmhouse, long left to the ravages of time, one he feared revisiting. You may find what you need, or you might unleash horrors that make life here seem mundane. Fear intertwined with a flicker of hope, igniting my resolve. I will do anything to protect my daughter, I asserted again, though doubt crept in. What if it leads to more danger? You won't know until you try, Evelyn said, her eyes desperate, urging me to decide. This may be the only chance to confront the truth and save Julia. Jonah smirked, relishing my turmoil. The turning point. Just remember, Clara, you tread on dangerous ground. No matter where you dig, the cost will be high. As the storm outside raged, my heart swelled with a sense of purpose against the desolating backdrop of anxiety weighing on me. Would I really unearth that which my family had hidden for so long? I was prepared to fight, but at what expense? Then consider this my first step into that darkness, I told Jonah, my voice steadying. I will find that journal. A mix of satisfaction and menace flickered across Jonah's face, but before he could respond, a loud crash echoed from outside. A sound unlike the storm's fury. Curiosity and dread coursed through me, and I turned toward the window. A figure stumbled into view, outlined against the writhing storm, brimming with urgency and fear. It was a face I never expected to see again. Someone from my past whose very presence would turn everything I thought I understood on its head. Heart thudding like a drum, I felt the weight of my decision crash down upon me. As Julia, Tom, and I stared simultaneously at the approaching danger, I realized that our tumultuous journey was only just beginning. Whatever awaited me, it was tainted by the humidity of past secrets, and I could only hope to brace myself for the threat of the truth unraveling before us. The storm's relentless howl matched the tumult of emotions spiraling within me as the figure emerged from the shadows. I felt as if time had unfurled itself, not unlike the terrible weather outside, exposing layers of my past that had been shrouded in secrecy and darkness. Mom? Julia's voice was a thread, pulling me back to the present. She tightened her grip on my hand, her small fingers shaking with fear and confusion. I could see the reflection of the storm in her wide eyes, and for a fleeting moment, my heart plummeted at the thought of dragging her even deeper into this nightmare. The figure advanced, drenched to the bone, face obscured by rain-soaked hair. When it stepped into the glow of our porch light, I gasped in disbelief. It was Ethemie, brother, the one I had spent years grieving, the one I believed had died years before. What are you doing here? My voice broke, a mix of surprise and anger. I took a step back, unsure whether to embrace him or push him away, caught between the love of a sister and the sting of betrayal. The last time I had seen him, my world had shattered. I had watched him walk away into the abyss, never to return. Clara. His voice was strained, hoarse as if it hadn't been used in ages. I came to warn you, everything is connected, and danger is closer than you think. Danger? I glanced back at Jonah and David, whose predatory gazes now lingered on Ethan, the tension thickening in the air like the storm outside. What do you mean, he's involved? Ethan nodded toward Jonah, anger flaring in his eyes. I learned things that can change everything. You don't have to give in to their demands. You have the power to break this cycle. I was torn. How could he expect me to trust anyone, let alone him, after all these years? Why should I believe you? You disappeared. You let me carry the weight of our family's burden alone. His expression faltered, remorse shadowing his features. I thought I was protecting you, Clara, but I see now I only made things worse. We're connected to something dark, and Jonah wants you in his grip because of it. Julia, still grasping my hand, forced her way into the conversation. Uncle Ethan, why are they threatening us? What do you guys know? Her innocent question cut through the rising tension, reminding me of everything I was trying to shield her from. Sweetheart, I began but faltered. I didn't have the right words to explain the web of betrayal and secrets woven through our family. But Ethan stepped forward, his voice gentle as if the mere act of speaking could shield her from the storm. There are things about our family history that go beyond what even you know, Julia. It runs deep into debts and sacrifices made by your grandparents. He turned to look at me. It's why I was gone. I had to escape the mess they made. Escape? If betrayal had a smell, I was inhaling it deeply. And where does that leave the rest of us? You left our mother to handle it all, and I was stuck piecing together her shattered remnants. I came back for you, he interrupted, urgency creeping into his tone. But something is wrong out there. I didn't just come back for the sake of nostalgia. Your father's journal holds the key, and we're running out of time. Jonah is using it against you, and he's not the only one. There are others involved, Jonah scoffed, a mocking laugh escaping his lips. How noble to dig into family history, Ethan. But you've forgotten what lurks in the shadows. If you expose the truth, Clara, it won't just ruin you. It will put others at risk. Others? I asked, frustration boiling over. My entire world felt like it was spiraling out of control again. What do you mean? Your mother, she has enemies who would rather silence her than let the truth surface. Ethan whispered urgently but loud enough for Jonah and his accomplice to hear. This isn't just about debts. It's about survival. Suddenly, a loud crash emanated from the back of the house, drawing everyone's attention. My heart raced, instinctively protective of Julia, who was still beside me, her wide eyes darting between the men. Stay close to me, commanded, fear clawing at my insides as I turned towards the sound. Clara, Jonah's voice became low and menacing. You're meddling in things that should remain buried. They will come for you one way or another. David stepped towards Ethan, fists clenched, his body language aggressive. You don't belong here, little brother. You've come back at a dangerous time. Let's hope you're not the one to pay for it, Ethan shot back, the tension rising into a crescendo that felt unbearable to end that stormy moment. With Julia's hand firmly in mine, I could feel the weight of decisions looming over us like thunderclouds in the sky. Unraveling the threads of our family's history threatened to plunge us deep into an abyss filled with shadows. What choice did I have left? Just then I heard sirens in the distance, an unfamiliar sound mingling with the storm's roar. My heart skidded to a halt. Were the authorities coming, or was it something worse? Someone more sinister drawn by the scent of family tragedy? Ethan's gaze locked onto mine. We need to move. They won't let this go lightly. As he began pulling Julia and me towards the back door, an explosion of thoughts cascaded through my mind, trusting Ethan, defying Jonah, safeguarding my daughter. I felt the tug-of-war pulling within me like a riptide, dragging me under as urgency pressed against redemption. Then, just as we were about to cross the threshold, a chilling voice echoed through the house. You think you can run from this, Clara? It was a voice I recognized, one I hadn't heard in years. You can't escape your past or your family's legacy. The room felt like it was closing in, shadows enveloping me as everything I fought to protect came crashing together with a sinister twist. What legacy awaited me on the other side of that door? And was it too late to rewrite our fate? The storm outside was eclipsed by a different kind of tempest swelling within my heart. As the voice echoed around us, jolting memories rushed like tidal waves. Nora, I breathed in disbelief as the figure stepped into view, a silhouette carved from my past, bearing the weight of the secrets I had tried so hard to forget. Clara, Clara, she crooned, her tone a venomous melody that made my blood run cold. Did you really think you could escape? That concealing the truth would keep you and your sweet Julia safe? Every word dripped with condescension, igniting a fire in my belly. Get out of my house, I shouted, my voice reverberating against the walls. I stepped forward protectively, placing myself between her and Julia, whose hand tightened around mine, trembling with fear. I'm not here to fight, dear sister, Nora said, a bemused smile playing on her lips that did nothing to quell the dread pooling in my gut. I came to remind you that blood runs thicker than water, and to warn you of the storm you stir by poking at the past. Storm? I echoed, disbelief pouring from my lips. You're the one bringing a storm right into my home. Behind me I could feel Tom tense, his protective nature flaring against the backdrop of uncertainty. Who is she? He asked, his tone taut with tension, eyes locked on this stranger from my history. Nor as I started defensively, but she interrupted, watching me like a hawk preying on a tender rabbit, that an ally perhaps or a foe. It all depends on how you view family obligations. Oh Clara, how beautifully naive you've become. Family obligations. I spat, anger surging. You destroyed our family. You left a trail of lies and deception, and I refuse to let that bind us anymore. As I stood poised for a confrontation, I suddenly recalled the pieces of my father's journal that Ethan had mentioned. What went unspoken hovered between us, threatening to crash into the delicate facade I had mythologized into reality. Your father thought he could bury the truths, and you're now paying the price, she continued, her voice growing more sinister. There's a reason he was so desperate to keep that journal hidden, because the truth is only the beginning enough. Ethan stepped forward, volatile energy crackling off him, and for a moment, I felt reassured by his presence. This ends here. Clara deserves to know everything without you twisting it for your own intentions. Oh, I won't twist anything, Nora laughed, the sound sharp and abrasive like nails on a chalkboard. Let's just say the truth is a double-edged sword. Scratch the surface, and you might find the blood you bleed is your own. What was she hinting at? My breath caught in my throat as the implications raced through me. In that moment of vulnerability, I felt hollowed out, as though she had reached beneath my skin and extracted the very essence that made me who I was. Clara, you need to listen to me, Ethan pressed, intensity pooling in his gaze. Nora is connected to the debts both of our families. The darkness won't just disappear. You need to face it head on, and that might mean confronting the truth of what happened to our parents. Is that what this is? I demanded, feeling the binge of history rise like bile in my throat. Are you here to take us back into that hell? Ethan's face darkened. No, I'm here to fight against it. But we need to unearth what's been hidden. We have no choice. The journal holds the key. There is no key. Nora's retort cut through me like a blade, her patience evaporating. The journal is a recipe for ruin. Trust me when I say you don't want to open that Pandora's box. You are far better off leaving the past where it belongs, in the grave. But it's not just your choice anymore, Clara, Jonah interjected, sauntering slightly closer, his demeanor oozing confidence. You're standing on the precipice of disaster without realizing the undercurrents at play. What you think you want is merely a series of knots that will tighten around you and suffocate what little chance remains for your family. Shut up, I shouted, the fire igniting my veins. I will not let you intimidate me into silence. In that case, Jonah continued, let's play this a little differently. Why don't we unearth some of these buried secrets together? After all, you could always use a hand to dig out the skeletons in your closet. I won't play your games. I screamed as my heart raced with the excruciating pang of love and a profound sense of betrayal. Suddenly, the sirens outside turned toward our street, drawing attention to the impending arrival of something or someone who might tip us over the edge. As the initial waves of dread washed over me, it dawned on me. Perhaps this whole situation was no longer about just my past. It could come to redefine our future, and in that reflection of chaos, something shifted in me, a surge of clarity amidst the storms of my life flooding my senses and demanding my attention. Enough of this, I yelled, finally gathering resolve. I will uncover my father's past, and I will not let fear dictate how I move forward. You cannot control me. The room erupted with tension as a silence hung palpably in the air, thick as concrete. As all eyes descended upon me, I knew then that the decision had been made. The confrontation with our past could no longer be avoided. Just as the urgency of the sirens peaked, breaking through the thunderous moments echoing between us, I turned to my family. We will confront this together. The truth may hurt, but secrets can bleed us dry. This will not make us weak. We will rise from the ashes somehow. We have each other, that's our strength. And as I stood firm, urging love to conquer fear, I felt a glimmer of hope, a longing for peace, however painful the path might appear. A whisper barely audible broke through to me. Don't forget, Clara, Jonah prodded, the past always has a way of finding you. You're playing a dangerous game. I squared my shoulders, daring to look into the eyes of the shadows that had chased me for years. Bring it. And as the sirens wailed nearer, their clarion calls promising intervention just on the horizon, a flicker of belief ignited within me, lighting the path ahead through the unending storm. This time I would not flee from my history. I would embrace it for the sake of all I loved. In that moment I understood. The storm might break us apart, but it could never dismantle the love that would rise like the dawn after night, something wholly untouched by the darkness that dared to unfurl into our lives. And as I braced for the new day, amidst betrayal and the remnants of the past, I whispered in quiet conviction, I choose us.